All right, so now we're going to start moving some of our code. So we're going to move our idle animations. We're going to start moving all the pieces that we had in the previous one, be able to adapt that, add that to our finite state machine player so that we can see those animations. We can start playing around with that. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to start redoing all of the stuff that we did. So I know that I have this animation class. Okay, I'm basically going to want to copy this and move this entire thing over. So I know I'm going to do an animation class, and then we're going to have to add the different animations. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to create a new animation class, animation.js. I know I'm just coming here. I'm going to copy this entire thing, paste it here, because we already tested it. We know that works. Okay, so there it is. Let's set it up in our index. Our dynamic creature, when we're in our run state and our jump state, we're going to need to have that animation class. So we just need to copy one of these. Animation.js. Okay, and now looking here at our previous one, we've got our animation, and then when we were doing our player, they were running through that current animation. Now, there's certain things that I don't need anymore. I don't need to have that on ground, but I do need to have this, animations and current animation, which actually might be a part of the dynamic creature, because if it's moving objects, then my enemies could also have the animations, and I'm going to have to track that too. So that means that coming to my dynamic creature, that's going to be something that we're setting up. New animations and current animations. Oh, what is this? Radius. Okay, so we have our animations, our current animation. That's for our dynamic creature. When we create that, that's going to be on there. Let's look here. We're going to end up having our methods for setting up our animations. So this right here, this is how we animate our players. That's actually going to be part of our dynamic creature. So then I'm going to come to my dynamic creature. I have a circle right now. I'm going to be displaying the animation there instead of in my player. We do want to add animations, change animations. Make sure that I get that all right. Okay, so then we come here. Dynamic creature is going to hold all of that. And now if we create our player, so here when we create a player, we were passing in those different arrays of images. So I need to download those and I need to implement them in here. So I'm going to go ahead and create folders. I'm going to pause it and I'm going to load all that stuff in here. So I have player states. That's a folder that I'm staying organized. I'm going to do a folder for player animations. And then inside my player animations, I'm going to create separate folders. So I'm going to have my idle. And then since we did jump, I'm also going to do that one too. Jump. Okay, so now I'm going to pause. I'm going to go load the idle and the jump animations in here. Actually, instead of idle, I'm going to load the run right now. Let's rename. Okay. All right, so I have all those images loaded. Now I can go into my sketch. I can start preloading all that stuff. for my asset. So I can do function, preload, and I'm going to build my animations from here. So let's do that. So we're going to do let player idle. Oops, we don't even have the idle right now. How about jump anim, let player idle anim, and then we can set those up. So we're going to come back here to our stuff. I already know that these work, but I'm going to have to make a couple changes. We didn't do, I did the idle, so I'm going to rewrite this. Now remember, because we're loading programmatically, it's going to take about 3 minutes for it to work. Jump anim. Now I'm looking, I got a total of 6. So I want this to stop at 5. I do not need this part. I don't need a conditional for this because I only have single digits. So this is going to go into my jump. Oh, that's supposed to be a run, isn't it? Jump. Jump. And then we put this in player animations. And then we had a folder for the jump folder. And then we're looking for the jump. And making sure that we're spelling right. 0, 0. And then we're having that complete. Okay, so that is all right, so that should work. Now let's do our player run, which means we're basically recopying this and then putting this for our run. So run. We're looking at this player animations folder that we have set up, but it's the run animation folder. So run, and then we're looking for run 000 to 007. So we want this to go up to and include 7. All right, now this we broke up before to load the player animation. So we could, to be clear, we could create some easy functions and say just call function load player anim, which would load the player run anim, load the player jump anim. So those would be the 2 different functions, and then we can build those. So function load player run anim. This is just to make it so we're more organized. Okay, and then let's do the other one. So I'm just going to move this stuff all down here. There it is. I'm moving this. That was the jump. And then I'm going to move the run to the run. So now I'm just more organized, so I can minimize that. I don't really need to look at it. The load player anim is what I'm going to do, and that's basically initializing my player stuff. Load player anim. Now my preload looks cleaner. And so then after I create my player, I set that initial state, and then I can also set my initial animation. So in my dynamic creature, I can add those animations, and then I can change the animation. So I want to call the animation. So just like what I did here, when I add the animation, I can give it values, and then I can pass that in. So if we wanted to start Now right now I'm just going to start it where we're at the run state because we don't need to implement the idle until we get to like a storyline. We're going to go into our initial sketch where we create a player, we set the state, we add the animation. So we're going to do the run animation, run. We're passing in that player. Those are the values that we had. We'll change our state to run. And then we also want to add another one for our jump. So jump, player, jump, anim, and then I could leave those same values. So now what am I doing though? I do want to call this player change animation whenever I enter in my run state. So technically I don't even need to call this here anymore because when I set up my initial state here, I am running into, let's go into the run state. We're in the run state. This is the first thing that gets called, okay? Which means that I need to have a hold on that current animation, and then I'm going to change my animation in here. So this is where I should be changing it. We're always changing into our player change animation here, and then when we're in our jump state, we're always going to be changing into our jump animation here. Okay, so that cleans some stuff up, but it's going to ultimately give me an error because if I am going into an initial state and I don't have an animation loaded, it's going to cause problems. So I need to, before I set my initial state, I need to have my animations loaded. So this could be a specific function that I'm calling, maybe load player animations, and I could do that. I can create, a whole function that's just built around creating a player, initializing the player, which is also something that I might end up doing. But I want to be able to see this work. Okay, so when we add the animation, that's going to be calling this add animation from dynamic creature. We're probably going to have an error, but we want to see it try to run. Now this is what I mentioned before. That is giving me the right names. So actually I wrote lowercase p. It's supposed to be uppercase p for player animation. So I got to come all the way up to where I loaded each one of these. All right, let's save again. Rerun. It's going to take that 3 minutes for it to read. So I got to be careful on what I'm reading. Cannot read properties undefined. Let's see what that's saying. Function.add, new animation, and setup. Cannot read property undefined. Check the line number and error, make sure that the variable which is being operated is undefined. Error line 7 and new animation. Line 15 in setup. Okay, so let's go to 15 in setup. Player run anim, did I name it right? Let's look at our index. We have the animation before we create our player. I think this has an error loading stuff. All right, I'm going to pause again to just give it a few minutes and then we'll come back to it. I did end up noticing some issues. We called position instead of pause in this one, so I have to make sure that I'm calling it right. So this .subject.position. So I'm just going to go through and make sure that position is changed to subject.position. This dot subject position. And we did put a height and width. Position. Okay, so that now is giving us a different error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading X. Animation line 29 cannot read properties of undefined. Line 29. What part of 29? Position. This dot position on X. What did we have? Oops. This one is actually pause. So we could rewrite it or not rewrite it. Since I already started doing it, I'm just going to keep it. It's very clear when we put position. There we go. All right. So now we're looking at our animation. Now, because every time I'm changing the state, I got the run, I jump, I'm in the jump state. Run, jump, run, jump, run, jump. And I can't double jump. And that was not using the on ground or any other weird checks or anything like that. Now, if I wanted to do a high jump, it means I just have to look in here on my handle input. I don't have anything in my handle input. How about if key code is 32, so that means I just pressed it, and key is pressed, that means I'm pressing it right now. Maybe I go and do a new jump state. That would allow me to double jump. That would allow me to jump a whole bunch. Or what if I just turn down my gravity? So this dot gravity is, let's do the Y, is instead of 2, maybe it's 1.25. Let's see what that looks like. Now I press. That's a lot of force, so we want to probably take this down. Let's do 25 so we easily see. Here's my normal jump. If I hold it, I did not change it yet. Jump state, let's see, this gravity dot Y is 1.25, and we're starting out at 2. But when I exit out, I need to reset my gravity. This dot gravity is, this dot Y is 2. I can get a slow jump and a high jump. It's really quick though. So you could play around with this. You could get different values. We want it to be held. So we might change that so that we can get this. So let's see if we're in here. This dot. There's a couple different ways that we could target this. This dot log. Let's see what our gravity is. Gravity. So see, it did change it, 1.25. Let's change it to some obscure number. How about it's really low? And we're taking forever. So us completely changing it is actually giving us problems. Instead, how about if it starts at a 2, let's subtract some from it. So maybe we subtract up to 2.5, but we only do that to a certain point. So how about if this dot gravity dot y is greater than or equal to let's see, we don't want it to go any less than a certain amount. So let's just say that we're going to half it. We're going to subtract 0.25 the longer that we press to get it down to 1. And so if that's the case, then we can lower the gravity while we're holding it. It won't take it forever. It's going to peak it out. Let's see what that looks like. There's my normal jump. There's my longer jump. Okay. Now, all of these are actually affecting quite a bit of stuff when we got to pull all of those things. So at this point, we want to start commenting out any of our console logs. So I'm going to do look for every single one of them and start commenting them out, because now we know that it's working. We can start tweaking it. You can add them back when you know that you're trying to implement something and it's not working. Okay, so that's my jump state. Let's do my run state. There it is. There it is. We know that we go into the enter, we go in the handle input, we go in the update, we go into the exit. There's my jump, there's my high jump. And that was pretty easy to implement. Okay, so that's all I got really for here. You guys are going to end up needing to add more states. Right now we're not trying to do any hitboxes, but we do want it to transition. So in terms of what we have a die. You guys are going to need to build that one out. Remember, that's only going to happen one time. We're not going to really be able to see it until we manually set it up though, so that one would be pretty easy, but it's going to be a one-time use. The idle, you guys could go ahead and add the idle to it. Again, we're not going to be running that right away. The next one though that you could do is you could do a dive, because we can stay in our jump animation, but we can force ourselves to go down harder. So that would be where we are increasing our gravity. Adding double jumps and stuff, we're going to implement that later when we can implement sensors. All right? Good luck. Have fun.